Give the Murphy family a big round of applause there. Absolutely fantastic. A big bullabus. Just a bit of housekeeping. There's loads of chairs here, so if you want to make your way up, because it's great to see such a crowd, but there's plenty of seating for everyone, so make your way in. We are being streamed live around the world, so mind your P's and Q's down there at the back. Make your way in. Just a bit of housekeeping as well for the stream as well and for the people here in the audience, just to make sure your phones are on silent. And we will allow at the end a chance for questions and answers as well, and we'll have a roving mic for that as well. So firstly, ladies and gentlemen, you're very welcome to the Royal Hotel here for the launch of t-Oileánach, the Families of Valentia, by my uncle, Michael Lyne. Give Michael a big round of applause, big bullabus. The way the evening's going to work is Michael is going to do a brief introduction, tell us the story behind the book and a bit about himself, as if you don't already know a lot about him. And we're also going to then have a panel of descendants of families that are spoken about here in the book. And we're going to hear and see from the talent of Valentia Island as well. There's going to be some wonderful performances as the night goes on. And like I said, towards the end of the evening, we are going to open the floor up for questions as well. I don't want to forget, I want to just commend Michael once again on this fantastic publication. I got a copy of it last week. And like everyone, I suppose, I went for my own crowd straight away, just to see what the story there was. But I found myself getting lost in all the other families. It was ages before I got to my own crowd, because it's so well detailed. And some of the stories inside there, they could be Hollywood movies in their own right. So I'm very interested to find out more about them as well. The detail, I just can't imagine the amount of work that went into the detail of it. And sometimes I suppose it's a real Irish thing, asking about relations and where you're from and who's related to that one and who's first cousin. And you have to be very careful that you don't insult anyone, don't you, when you're in a particular region, because they could be a first cousin twice removed or whatever. But Michael has, it's the actual detail and the structure of it makes it so easy to follow. And I think that's what's amazing, because I've heard relations going back generations, and I'm still trying to piece it together. But in this, you have a reference point, which I think is vital. I teach broadcasting, Kerry College and Radio Kerry, and the first thing we say to our students, and I've said this numerous times, is when an old person dies, a library burns, and that it's important to record those people. Now, some of them we can't record anymore, but this is another way of recording our history, and I think that is vital, what Michael has done here, and what he's done throughout his life in his many publications of t-Oileánach. Anything he's gone at, be it entrepreneurship, he's made a success of himself, and always bring it back here to the island. He has a real social conscience, and that is, I suppose, exampled in his work with the GAA and also in relation to the pursuit of UNESCO status for the World Heritage Site here on the island as well. So we're very proud of him in the family, and I think he's to be commended on all of that. Another thing to look for in the book is the many photos as well. There's absolutely outstanding photos, and I'd love to hear how he was able to track all these photos, because they're just absolutely amazing. Even just as a picture book, it's brilliant. So that's another outstanding feature of this book. The book is for sale. It's for sale tonight, but for you listening around the world, and I know there is many of you tuned in, you can avail of it on un-toileanach.ie, and also we encourage you around the world as well to leave comments here tonight as well. And Fiona Lyne, Michael's daughter, who is the producer of this production, will be giving me those comments as we go through the night as well, so that you are welcomed into this. So without further ado, I'd like to invite the author of t-Oileánach, the Families of Valentia, up to the stage to say a few words. Give a big, loud bullabus for Michael Lyne.
Carda, tá fáilte of go léir an seo anocht, tá sóla go minic sibh tanmh agus sult as an ihe. You're all very welcome here this evening for the launch of my latest book on t-Oileánach, The Families of Valentia. Thank you all for your support. It means a lot. And a special word of thanks to those who travel long distances to be with us this evening. Céad míle fáilte, of course, to our special guests this evening, my old friend Sean Kelly and his wife Juliet. I guess I should say fáilte I Cheallaigh Grove. They say the savage loves his native shore. And I grew up with a great love for Valentia and its people. I always wanted Valentia to develop and prosper, and I always wanted to leave the island in a better place when I am called to leave the stage. Much of this was driven by the GAA and my love for the GAA, and that was nurtured in St. Brendan's in Killarney. I wanted to guide the young islanders in any way I could, whether it was as a player, a trainer, as a selector, as chairman of the club, or chairman of South Kerry Board. And often I was all of these at the same time. I wanted them to be the best in the county, and the young islanders did become the best in the county when they won Division 1 of the league in 1984 and became Kerry Club champions in 1986. I had 4 brothers, and they all came back to live and work and marry and raise their families on the island. This was unusual and perhaps unique. And of course, we all played football together for the island. I have one sister, Mary Ann, and she went all the way to Portmagee to find a husband and raise her family there. I'm not sure how I ended up writing books about Valentia, but I do remember an old friend, Polly Sullivan from Portmagee, and he brought out a newspaper called From Our Cost to Reen Caharach about 1971, and he said, "Now you must do one on Valentia." It's over 50 years now since I produced the first on t-Oileánach with an Brother Padder and members of Cumann Dairbhre in Dublin. 5 more on t-Oileánachs followed during the 70s and early 80s. Then, of course, there were 18 Kerry GAA yearbooks in the 70s, 80s and 90s. Also, along with others, I edited the history of the South Kerry GAA Board. In 2019, then I did the hardback on t-Oileánach, The Voices of Valentia. And now, on t-Oileánach, The Families of Valentia. I think that's about 27 books in all. I do think it's important to record the history for future generations, because if we do not know where we come from, we really do not know who we are, and we may not know where we are going. With the passing of anyone in the community, as Joe said there earlier, a book goes into the grave, lost forever. How I wished so many times when I was writing this book that I could consult and interview some of the older generation. I had so many questions that they could answer, but now it's too late. My grandmother lived to be 100, but I never interviewed her. I know she remembered the steam engine drawing slate blocks from the quarry down to the slate yard in Knightstown. It was called the Puffing Billy, but I never asked her about that. So I would appeal to the younger generation here this evening to talk to your parents and grandparents and write down their stories. Soon it will be too late. It might be a project for primary schools to collect the memories of the older generation. This was done in 1939 by the folklore department of based in UCD. Tygo Moraku interviewed Ger Lott from Bray and Eileen Curran from the Hella and others, and this is available online to this day. It occurs to me that a generation has now grown up and they may never have seen a team of horses plough the fields, harrow and open drills for potatoes and turnips and other crops. Once I turned 16, I would go out and hire with my father's horses, mowing hay for the neighbours at £1 an acre with a Pierce mowing machine. I would also plough with a two-wheel plough. The late Tim Driscoll would remind me till the day he died. Do you remember, he would say, when we ploughed the 4-acre field in tennis, with I guiding the horses for you, Paddy and Dolly. And of course I wasn't the only one doing that. All my brothers did the same, and neighbours and that. This is how we lived at the time. Growing up on the island, I knew everybody, and many were related, as transport was limited to Shanks Mare and sometimes the Horse and Trap. So most Valentia people married another islander. A Carsavine footballer once married an island woman, and when questioned why he married a lady from their arch rival club, his response was, "Sure, I had to come in and mix the blood, because they were interbreeding here like the rabbits over on Bigness Island." I have researched perhaps over 300 families in this book, and the biggest family in Valentia was the O'Sullivans. They were called the Sullivan Cumbaws, and they came here from Tipperary in the late 1700s. They all married locally, some to farmers, some to the cable workers, when that was in full swing. And so the Rings, the Condons, the Scaife, the Greens, the Renwicks, the Lavelles, as well as many O'Sullivans throughout the island, are descended from the Cumbaws. The Sullivans of Ballyherney House, they were called the Johnny Corneys. The Sullivans of Chapeltown, John Willem of the Ring Line, and Mossy Sullivan's family. Then you have the Tate Jurries, who owned Old Lynch's shop and Lube Bar. Sean Moore, who was Mickey Donoghue's grandfather, and Gaffney Sullivan of Gurtgower, who was Pat Connor's grandfather. They are all related. George Jack's ancestors, Nellie Cumbaugh, also was one of them, as was Patrick Murley's grandmother and Patty Joe Lynch's grandmother, and the McCarthy family of Corabeg. I would like to thank each and everyone who helped me with this book. Joseph Lynch did tremendous work, especially with the Lynch family, a great researcher and genealogist. He's sadly missed in Valentia. Goniana dia trokra aranam. I would like to thank those who encouraged me along the way. People like Paddy Murphy, Joe McCarthy, Timmy Lyne Dublin. My brother Timothy was a great source of information for me, and I have dedicated this book to him. Thanks too to those great genealogists across the Atlantic, people like Ralph Rogers, Terry Donoghue, and Debbie Wilmes in Everard Genealogy and Valentia Down Memory Lane. I want to thank the many people who supplied photographs and information and answered my many queries. Mary Daly and John Farvey supplied me with lots of great photos, old and new. I also want to thank my designer, Tess Dennison, who did a great job in the design, as Joe referred to earlier. She's from Kinmare, and she has been wonderful. Thanks also to my proofreader, t-Oileánach Boyle, and my printers, Walsh's of Castle Island.
So there's seats over here. There's a stack of seats over here as well. So if you want to come up and just make your way over here to the left, don't worry, you won't be on stage. You'll be. What's that? Yes, exactly. Thank you. This is not like the back of the church now where you get away with things down the back. So move your way up. And just a reminder as well that the book is going to be officially launched by MEP Sean O'Callagh, who's here with his family tonight. So we just acknowledge Sean's presence. Give him a boo bus. So keep coming up. There's loads of seats up here. It's funny to hear when Michal was going through the family names there that the murmurings were getting louder because people were tracing people. Oh, that's right, yeah, he was the first cousin of whoever. It's great to hear that. Keep coming up. There's loads of seats over here. It'll make for a more comfortable night if you're sitting down. Don't be shy. Keep coming, keep coming. So, to add a bit of knowledge to proceedings and a bit of gravitas, we've a great lineup of guests for you. And after saying that, I better bring this woman up first. She was described many times as the finest woman ever to leave the island. I don't know what Michal was talking about. My mother, Marianne Lyne McGill. And she just said, oh, Jesus Christ. One way up, Mom. So give Marianne a big round of applause there. This is Michal's sister, for those of you that don't know, just to clarify that. And also, the finest woman to stay in the island, Nona O'Donoghue. We'll give Nona a big round of applause there. Sit beside her for courage, yeah. And also, can we have a big bula bus for an institution on the island, Taig O'Donoghue. And this man's father was mentioned there. He actually taught me Irish when I used to stay with my grandmother on the island, Joseph Lynch. Killian Lynch. Give Killian a big round of applause. And Paddy and my mother were discussing this next man, Paddy. He was discussing with my mother, you'd want a PhD to keep up with them on the genealogy. So give Paddy Murphy a big round of applause as well. And just in case you hit airlock, there's a glass of water under your chairs there, ladies and gentlemen, as well. Not one for everyone in the audience now, so don't mind about that. Michal, just before I suppose we actually get into the whole thing, there was some comment you made in your book, and I thought it was very interesting. We were talking about the olden times and I suppose how things have changed. But the modern technology has helped in things like this as well and has connected people. And social media actually plays a role in that, doesn't it? So like with the different sites, you know, the Facebook pages, and there's a lot of them that actually help with connecting people.
Oh yeah, I mean, I depended on Valentia Down Memory Lane and Eva Genealogy for a lot of the information I got. A lot of people, I put out a request at one stage for old photographs, and sure, I was inundated with people putting photographs up there, and that's where I would have got a lot of the photographs, you know. That wasn't there 20 years ago.
I mentioned the different stories that are inside here and like almost Hollywood stories, but then there's very interesting names, and names have been carried on through the generations. So I suppose firstly we'll start with Murphy Paul Jones. Who was he? Tell us about him.
Well, Murphy was born in the Cross House where Taidonoghue comes from, and he was captured by the privateer Paul Jones. and after that he was called Murphy Paul Jones. And he was taken off, and I think he fought for a while in the French army, and he came back eventually after about 2 years with a lot of money. They were passing up the Skelligs, and they were sent ashore, I think, to Ballinskelligs to get fresh water supplies. And when they started rowing away from the ship, Murphy saw his chance and he said, "Keep going, lads." And they kept rowing for Ballinskelligs, and he escaped back home. There's the story I often heard, that there was a gang in the house the night he came back, and his wife heard the footsteps, the hobnail boots coming down the pathway, and she said, if that's anyone, she said, that's Murphy's walk. And it was.
Ty, there's a mic there next to you. Ty Killeen has it, I think. That was your house, was it, or where you were born? Is it?
Where I was born, yeah, and where I grew up. I don't know. Micheál might know how it transferred from Murphy's to O'Donoghue's, but it did anyway at some stage. We can trace our family back there. I think I don't know how many generations. We were tenants in Kerry until 1914, and then my grandmother bought it.
Yeah.
So
I was looking at your family actually in the book. The importance of a book like this, it's vital, isn't it?
Yeah, I must thank Micheál for a picture of the whole family. There were 10 of us there with my father and mother, and Micheál has devoted half a page to us, no less.
Well, he'd have to if there was 10 of you.
So I thank him for that. And I see a great photograph too of Hannah Dorney and Cartine Johnny and my grandmother. A small photograph. And if you look at it carefully, there's a sow in the background.
Good. Brilliant. We're going to move on to the Murphy family then over the water. And there's kind of, I suppose, a connection with Murphy Paul Jones there, Micheál, and then I'll bring Marianne in.
Yes, they say that that Murphy Paul Jones, his brother went over the water and got married over the water. And as far as I know, that was the first Murphy of the Murphys of Ballycarbry. Famous family after.
And that's where I'll call you Marianne now for being professional. But so that's where the Murphy family come in over the water. And tell us, I suppose, your knowledge of the Murphy family. And before that, actually, you did want to say something about the book of Micheál, didn't you?
Yeah, I just wanted to say how proud we are of Micheál, and it's a book well done. And those of us that are interested in genealogy, we have something to look at. Before we'll be asking, who is this, who's related to who, and who's that. Now we can sit down and look at the book to know who was who.
Yeah. And then the Murphy family, tell us your knowledge of them over the water.
Well, the Murphy family, my grandmother was Minnie Murphy from Ballycarbry, and the story goes it was a match with herself and Michael Lynch, and apparently Jeremiah Connell, who was the first cousin of Michael Lynch's, that's Mico's father, rowed the boat across from here, I presume, to over the water to the White Strand, and crossed up the field to find my grandmother. She never told me that story, but now I know where it all began. So she married then Michael Lynch in Coromore, and she had, apparently there was 13 in her family.
And that was a match. So for younger people now, that was like an arranged marriage almost. Yeah, imagine that today. Maybe it's a handy way of doing it. Would you have liked that yourself?
No, I wouldn't like it.
Why not?
Yeah. Anyone that would be buying a horse, they look at his mouth first. So
Is that what you did with Charles McGill, is it?
I always looked at his good teeth before I judged him.
But they went on to have, how many kids did you say?
13.
13.
Yeah. But then there was tragedy in the family. My grandmother, when she was in Cornmore, often visited us in Cool. And of course, I being the only girl, she slept with me and she gave me all the history of Over the Water. And she often told me about one of her sisters that died at 4 years of age. Her grandmother had died maybe months earlier, and then the grandchild died. And the old people used to say at the time, oh, the grandmother took her. And then she also lost some brothers, and there was a story with that as well. He was going to school one morning with two friends, and they met a white rabbit, and that was supposed to be bad luck, and he died shortly after. But looking into it, he had a heart condition, so I presume it wasn't the white rabbit. But having said that, then the rest of her family, they all did well. Well, to start with herself, she came to 120 acres in Coromore.
A good start.
A good start. And her sister Nell was a nurse, and her sister Bernadette, Katie, sister Bernadette, was a nun. And I remember the story when my halls were there, they were always working, mowing the fields and ploughing and all that. You swear Mary Ann did nothing. But anyway.
Stick with the Murphys now. We don't want a family dispute.
But I remember when the creamery stop was at Doney's Cross. Rice, all the farmers took it in their turn to collect the creamery tanks when they came back from the creamery. So I was sent over to load the tanks with Rice, our neighbour. And Sister Bernadette at the time, she was in the presentation order, but up to now, she wasn't allowed outside the gate of the convent. But then she was left out at maybe nearly 80 years of age, and she went wild. So
at 80 years of age, right.
So she walked over the road to Doney's with me, and Rice and myself caught the tanks anyway to lift him in, and she turned her back and she walked back the road. And Rice took a good look at her, and he lifted the cap on the head and he said, "Oh my God," he said, "a fine woman wasted in the convent."
And then there was, that went on, I suppose, we've the Jack Murphy, the famous Jack Murphy.
He was a brother, of course, and then, of course, in 1926, he was playing in the All-Ireland against Kildare, and of course he developed pneumonia and didn't play in the replay. He died 11 days later, you know, and...
At 22 years of age, Michael, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then, of course, there was her brother Dennis, who owned Mike Murchison Town, and then her brother Pat was married 3 times. We have a lot to catch you up to do. But, and in the 3 families, there was 3 Christian brothers. In the 3 different families, but there was 3 Christian brothers.
Something we have at home, and we'll finish then on the Murphys because we could take the night with them. But you've the letters from Jack Murphy. So Jack Murphy, 2 All-Ireland medals he won. He was man of the match in the 1926 drawn game against Kildare. He went training. They said he got a wet jersey, but he didn't make the replay, and he died 11 days after. The famous South Kerry Championship Cup, Jack Murphy is called after him. You have letters to his sister Nell at home.
Yeah, well, the Jack Murphy Cup came about from his sister Nell, who was a nurse. She that put the cup up for in honour of him, and she came back and lived in Ballybunnon, and she obviously gave all these letters that he wrote to Nell. Jack wrote to Nell while he was playing, and he always gave her a good rundown on all the matches. And he said he did pass the remark about he being man of the match on with his last letter. And Uncle Dennis passed the letters on to me.
Yeah, so it was handed down. We have it at home, yeah. It's an amazing letter. They talk about meeting the fans in the Gresham Hotel before the game and everything. You think it was written yesterday, and to think it's 100 years ago. Very special letter. He also said that he didn't think he played that well in the game, but I think the archives show he played brilliant. Thank you, Mary Ann, Mom, and we'll give Mary Ann a big round of applause. Paddy Murphy, other Murphys now, no connection. This is the Murphys of Knightstown. Tell us about them, and use your mic there as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. You're saying there's no connection, but I believe that all the Murphys on the island are connected somewhere along the way if you go back far enough, and you can connect all the dots. But I haven't been able to connect a lot of them. But some of them, my great-great-grandfather was a fellow called Con Murphy, and he married a woman called Nell Dask. She was Nell Kelly. And that would be connection with us to the Kelligs, that type of way, right? I'm not great at this stuff, so apologies. They had 3 kids that we have found to this point in time, but we expect there's more, and trying to connect the dots again. One of them was a fellow called Con Murphy. He was born in 1839. He married a Mary Driscoll, who married, and they had a daughter, Mary, who married a John Granfield. And there's a connection with Nono to that because her sister Bridie is out in Connecticut, and through the genealogy and the DNA and everything else, I tracked down a fella called Dan Pickett, who he believes is Pickett, should be spelled Piggott, Pigott, which is, if Richard Quigley or any of the Quigleys are around, he believes there's a connection there. And he said, if you can get one of the Quigleys to do a DNA test, I'd love it, because it could tie down another piece of the jigsaw for me. But I was talking to him on the phone maybe 2 years ago, and we were talking about this, and he said to me, there's a lady here, you know who I'm talking about, don't you? Bridie is, or Nono's sister Bridie is out in Connecticut, right? And he knows her because of the family, the whole connection of the Valentia connection and that whole part of the country. And he told me at some stage, and I haven't found it since, that there was a book written in Connecticut about the families of Valentia, that, and the history of them and where they came from and who they're related to and all that. I've seen it on some notes on it in paper somewhere, but I haven't been able to actually find a copy of it. They have made inquiries. If there's anybody out there in the big wide world tonight that has any information or knows where to direct me, please get in contact with me through the IPG site, the Valentia or Ivra Peninsula Genealogy. So that's one side of the Murphys that I know of. My great grandfather was a fellow called Pat Sacud, right? Bit of a character, I believe.
Pat Scud.
Pat Sacud, yeah.
Pat Sacud. Okay.
Pat, son of Cornelius, as you know it from the Cuds, right? And he married a Mary Burke, and they had a string of kids. The Hoppers in Krakow, the Hoppers in Knightstown. Where else am I going? There was Bridie Frawley, was another one of them. Psyche, some of you will remember Psyche. And he was married to one of the Shays, and the Arpins then, they go down into Castletownbere. Some of them go down to Castletownbere. Pat is still hale and hearty. She's up in Leakslip, I think is where she's living. I've met her numerous times. I met her recently at Blackie's funeral down in Castletown. Pat Stewart, I see, is another one of the cousins. He was down at that connection. So there's a massive connection of Murphys spread all over, of that coming out from that whole section of the Murphy section, okay? Sheila's not, I don't think she's with us here tonight. Sheila Hallisey, whose husband Tim, God be good to him, is a descendant of Joe Murphy, who was Mary Cahill behind at Ballyherney. All of these we're all intertwined, and but some of the mysteries that I have found through the whole thing is that Mary Cahill in particular is related to most people that come onto the IPG site somehow or other, but we haven't found the match that brings her, I know the Murphy side of it, but she has the Driscoll side, and there's something connecting all of these people together, which I've been unable to find at this. So this is part of what I'm interested in. Yeah. I don't have the knowledge that Mary Ann and Michal have, because I'm out of Valentia for 50 odd years. Yeah. But it's just to me it's fascinating. I'm fairly impressed with your knowledge though so far. it's not as good as these. And the third member of that descendant of Con Murphy would be the Caps outside in really, they're all your neighbours outside. Yeah. And in Cunnakeen, yeah. And they're all part of that whole mix and match of whatever it is. And the interesting thing is, when we went to Middleton, I'm living outside Middleton, and just move the mic up, yeah. Sorry, my apologies. I'm living outside Middleton, and we were a blow-in family to Middleton, and we had no connections at all there. But when my youngest daughter went to school, Danielle, she came home one evening. She said, "Dad," she said, "I have a cousin in school in Middleton with me." It was Sean Capp's daughter. Whoa. So that circle is still there. Sean's family, we're close to them. We meet them regularly, and et cetera, down and around East Cork, Yeah. So that's roughly my contribution to this. I don't know why Michal brought me in here tonight. I know exactly why. He's not paying me expenses or anything like it, He will after this. Oh, after that, thanks, sir. Paddy, excellent. Thanks a million for that. Give Paddy a big bull of us.
What we're doing here tonight is what Micheál references in the book, where he would have listened as a child to the neighbours gathering around the fire, tracing relations, and it's amazing to hear it here and everyone kind of nodding along as well. But like I said, it's documented in the book, which I think is so vital. We are going to give our panel a bit of a rest, and we're going to have a performance now. So Pat, I see you down there, if you don't mind. We're moving you up the bill. We're going to bring Pat Stewart up to sing Yokon. So give Pat a big round of applause.
Congratulations, Micheál. Oh, while standing on that mountain top that's known to be Yokon, as I watch the cattle grazing on the lowlands of Cumann, that lovely vale of Chapeltown, Valentia's only pride, it was built upon the narrow as it flows on to the tide. As I gazed on further westward, I could scarcely believe my eye to see an ancient building built on a rugged height. They say it was a fortress by our people long ago, to protect this little island from every foreign foe. Oh, further on you'll gaze upon that lonely Skellig rock, where the old folks say that saints you stay as they worked all in a flock. Those lovely cliffs of Forday are facing to the west, and I used to climb them at a young boy at my best. But every groove and crevice there I'd stop and say a prayer that God protect each fishing boat out there on Dingle Bay. It's nice to roam around Braehead as when I was a boy, and watch the shepherd chase his flock around the Tower of Bry. It's nice to roam down Bachelor's Walk on a Sunday after Mass, and see the ships at anchor from Reenellen to Reenglass. It's nice to see that same boat race out on your silver stream, and your shores are dainted with roses from the gardens of Glenleam. Thank you.
Give Pat Stewart a big bull bus again. That's absolutely fantastic. Again, local songs like that are so important. There was a great Bennis project there done by Peter Malarkey and a few others involved in protecting our local songs. And what Pat's doing there by singing those songs is passing it on to the next generation. I think it's vital. So once again, let's hear for Pat. And he's a great voice too, to boot. Micheál, I suppose, you know, there's light moments obviously in the book, but then there's the sadder moments as well, and there is a few tragedies that are mentioned. The tragedy of Felix O'Neill's wife losing her husband in a drowning tragedy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was tragic. Felix O'Neill's mother was lynched from the mill, and Felix got drowned in 1901 outside the lighthouse, and at the time she was pregnant with her next son, who was Johnny Neal, who would be Pat O'Casey's grandfather. And that wasn't the end of her trouble, because shortly afterwards a sow got into the kitchen, which was standard enough at the time, and she capsized the cradle into the open fire. So that was some tragedy for that woman.
I was reading that story. I couldn't grasp it. Like, what a tragedy to happen. The previous tragedy you mentioned at the lighthouse, Patsy Sean Moore also died in that. You said, is it?
Yes, maybe Nona will talk about him, because and a lot of others were down the same night.
Paddy, I might get you to hold the mic there to Nono. Nono, tell us about your knowledge of that, and Patsy Sean Moore. And hold the mic right up, because it's...
They were searching for a long time, trying to find the body, and they couldn't get the body anyway. But after about 9 days, this boot was washed into the shore, and they reckoned it was one of his boots with his foot inside it. And
keep talking.
Yeah.
I'll hold it for you. It's fine.
Right, hold if you're not.
yeah, that his foot was inside it, and his father went down to the foot, and he picked up the boot, and he pulled out the foot, and he kissed it. He said that was all that was left of him at that time. Yeah. So I know more about the others now that got drowned. I couldn't really tell you, but there was a group of them at that time, wasn't there, Michal?
There was a brother of Tommy Shays, and
Yes.
there was Murphy from the fishery, and McCarthy, and there was a number of others. Yeah.
And what was his connection to the Donahues?
He was Mick's. He was Mick's uncle. He was his mother's brother. Yeah, Patsy Sean Moore. The grandfather was Sean Moore O'Sullivan. Yeah, and he was one of the sons.
Tracing relations, it's almost like, I don't know, Olympic sport. We were talking about the Olympics. Is it something you at home would have engaged in always, or, was it not for you, or what was your opinion on it?
When I married into Chapeltown to Mick's house now, it was a great house for reminiscing and talking about. You mentioned Tom Plot was one, and Shine, they used to call every Sunday after Mass. And I was only there young at the time, and they were talking about all these stories. But I didn't take a lot of notice then. But very sorry now that I didn't. And when Michal started writing, and there was lots of questions he asked that I would love, that I had listened more and be able to tell him. He was very interested in this man that lived at the Lots by the name of, he was only known as Papa the Lots, but what was his real name? Now, my mother-in-law spoke a lot about him, but she always called him Papa the Lots. So Michal wanted to know what was his name. Well, we couldn't find out because all the people we want to ask are gone now, like John William and Joe Lynch at the mill and Michael Lynch, all those people would tell you. But Nancy Murphy, sister Nancy Murphy, came on a visit during I suppose about a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago. And she was visiting, and I was called to talk to her. And I said to her, would you ever have heard of Papa the Lots? Oh yes, she said, I knew him. She's 97 now. Oh my God. And she said, I knew him. She said he was very intelligent, and he used to teach us our maths and our Irish. And he lived alone in a little house at the Lots, and the kids would visit him, and he would tell him what he knew. She said he was unbelievable. So he was Patrick O'Sullivan of the Lots. That was his name. So we knew eventually what his name was. Yeah.
No, what you've done there is so important for that man, what you've just told the audience there. So I think that deserves a big bullabus. Well done. Just finally, on that, you were mentioning that you wish you paid more attention. Would that be your advice to people maybe listening today in relation to that?
So, I am still very sorry I didn't listen more when they told those stories in our house that time. But I think when you're young, maybe you're not. But now, I would love to know. We wanted, like when Michal now was started the book, I was saying, well, why didn't we listen to more of the, I would advise any young people to be interested now and learn what they can about all those great people that went ahead of us. Yeah.
Maybe it was a warning for people that were dancing with each other on the harp. If they knew they were related, they mightn't have. Maybe that's the way to encourage young people. I don't know. But no. Once again, a big bullabus. That's brilliant. Great. There are other historic tragedies, and we'll come back to them, Micheál. But Cillian, I notice you're sitting there with a while, so I'd like to bring you in if you can grab the mic off Tig there. This is Cillian Lynch, like I mentioned, Joseph Lynch's son. How did the Lynches come to the island first? And because there is so many strands of Lynches and their connections.
There were three brothers that came from Dingle or Ventry: Patrick, Dennis and John. Patrick settled in the Mill, Dennis in Dohilla, and I think John was in Upper Tennis. Patrick's son James Lynch, he died during the famine. His son, was it Michael, settled in Coromore, and his son Seamus went back to the Mill. He'd be my great-great-grandfather. But James Lynch or Patrick Lynch, the Coromore Lynches and ourselves were all related, so we're all very close up here.
That's our crowd as well.
That's your crowd, yeah. So James Lynch or Patrick Lynch, that's set in the Mill, is a direct line to in Coromore as well. I'm not too knowledgeable about the Lynches in Dohilla or Upper Tennis, just from basically reading the book, so I wouldn't know too much about them. But it's very interesting to see the families that they have married into, and how many people are direct descendants of the Lynches on the island. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and in relation to the book there, it's very helpful in that way to join the dots for someone like yourself that has an interest in it as well.
Yeah, it definitely it gives a great idea. For people my age, I suppose it gives a great starting point. When you don't have the people to ask the questions for anymore, it gives you a great starting point. And also there's great stuff online now as well to join the dots too with this. But no, it's a great resource to have.
Your father Joseph, did he instill a love of history in you? Because we all know the great work he did in local history and oral history and everything else.
Yeah, he would have told us a lot about this when we were younger. But as Nono said, you kind of don't listen enough when you're younger. Now I always had an interest in history. I have a degree in history, but again, a degree in history isn't worth the paper it's written on if you don't have an interest in history. But I do have an interest in history, but again, as Nona said, I wish I listened a bit more and took it in when my dad was alive. But he's left a lot of stuff for us. He's kind of given there's a lot of things that trigger when I read this book, Micheál's book. There's a lot of stories that come back to me from when I was young. So, no, it's a fantastic publication. Fair play to Micheál.
Excellent, Cillian. Give Cillian a big round of applause. Tig, we were speaking about Jack Murphy playing for Kerry, but you wanted to mention another man that played for Kerry, a Keating man. Tell us about him.
Well, I have to correct you there. He was O'Donoghue, actually.
Oh.
No relation, unfortunately. I got a phone call 5 or 6 years ago from my sister Eilish in Carsavine, who runs a B&B, and a lady had arrived there trying to trace an ancestor who won an All-Ireland in the 1890s or 1880s. She didn't know, but she knew it was O'Donoghue, and so from the GA books I checked up, and there it was in 1897. Patrick O'Donoghue winning an All-Ireland medal for Dublin, representing the famous Kickham's Club, nowadays known as Ballymun Kickham's. So I couldn't do any more research. Well, I could, but I was too lazy. I headed for the Oracle Michael Lyne, and I said, Micheál, could you sort this out for me? And it transpired that his mother was Mary Keating from Corribeg, who married out in Lahern South or thereabouts. Her husband died, and she married again to a man called Timothy O'Donoghue, also from Corribeg. And they had a family, and one of the families was Patrick, and he played for the Kickham's Club and was on the Dublin team that won the All-Ireland in 1897. Whoa. So I took Micheál Lyne to do all the research, and you'll find it there around page 85. And the Keatings are interesting because there was 4 siblings in a family around the 1820s and 30s. And those 4 were very, I'm not sure what word I'll say, because several Valentia families can trace back to them. the Learys of Cool, the Falveys, the O'Connells of Corabeg and Krakow, the Driscolls of Dohele, the Sullivan Jacks, all them can trace back to one of the 4 Keatings that were born in the 1830s, or 20s and 30s.
Whoa.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But as Patrick O'Donoghue, I would love to track down the lady that was looking for the answer to see what she did find out and what the relationship was. But what started me in the hunt was she was staying with my sister Eilish in her B&B, and Eilish rang me and she said, could you throw some light on this? And I said, gee, I never heard of a South Kerry man winning in All Ireland. The first I thought was Ned Neal from the Point. But in fact, this man was there.
Whoa. So that's the history book straight.
And we still don't know who he married or how many children he or anything like that.
Yeah. That's the beauty of this tonight, though. Like we said, like Paddy said as well, he gave an appeal out there. You that are tuning in around the world as well, if there's any blanks you can fill, get in touch as well, and get in touch through comments, or you can get in touch through the website as well, on -toileánach.ie as well, and that's where you can purchase this wonderful book we're talking about.
Hall here. I got to know Micheál, and well, he was only a kid when I left to go to Dublin. I'm 10 years older than you, Micheál. But Micheál and his late brother Timothy became great footballers of the Clonagale Club in Dublin. And they were roped into Cumann Dairbhre. We all had great ideas. The difference was Micheál didn't talk about ideas. He actually executed them.
That's exactly it. You can't plough a field in your mind, and Micheál definitely did amazing work. Just in relation to Micheál as well, like when you're talking about genealogy, you can't not talk about it, but talk about the famine as well, and the hard times, and workhouses and things like that. And there's another story there in relation to Timothy Keating and his wife who died.
Yes, Timothy Keating, that's the Keatings from the Pound. I see Michael Keating here tonight. His great-grandfather, I suppose, and grandmother, they were taken into the workshop in Carsavine because they developed phthisis. They think they got it from cleaning fish down the ferry, and it was a very contagious disease, and of course they had to be put into isolation, and the workhouse was not only a workhouse for the poor people, but it was also an isolation hospital. So they went in there, and within a couple of weeks both of them died within 4 or 5 days of each other. And the funny thing then was they were not allowed by the authorities to bring the coffins to the town of Carsavine, and because of the danger of the transferring the disease to somebody, they were scared of it anyhow, and they're buried over the water in Keelavernok.
You had an appeal there, I suppose, for people. Maybe there's more workhouse stories there as well. You're looking to fill the gaps there as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we know very little about the famine in these parts. There's very little written because I think the people didn't want to be telling those stories. I never heard famine stories around the fire in Cool. Now there must have been a lot of stories, but then again, Valentia didn't come out as bad as the mainland, because Valentia in 1850, 3 or 4 years after the famine, they had 450 people employed in the slate quarry. And then as we went on, the 1866, the transatlantic cable, and by 2000 and by 1920, you had 220 people employed in the cable station after the slate quarry closing down. So and then you had the fishing, and you had the same boats, and so there was always a kind of a pound to be made there. So I don't think they came out as badly as the people in the mainland.
I think that's so. Killian, if you just take the mic a second, it's just, you said you studied history, and like I would have studied history in school, but I think it's when you kind of come out of school and you start living in a place, and you know the place name like the Logamnica or like the history of that road or why it was called that, do you get more of appreciation for local history? And this is very much along the same lines. Do you know, there's more of appreciation, it seems.
Definitely, yeah. This is this is real. This is our history. So again, when I'm a school teacher, so I try to instill an interest in local history in the children that I teach. So we generally do a few things every year, 1 or 2 things every year with them, based on, we worked with yourself and Mags with the Logamnica this year, and I've done stuff on the Celts, but it is their history, and it's more relatable to them as opposed to studying the Incas or the Romans or something like that, which is very interesting too, but it's here, it's our history, and that's why it's so important. And it is more like, again, having a degree in history isn't worth much when you don't know your own genealogy, your own local history, and the stories around the fireside as well, which are kind of a thing of the past too. With social media, and there isn't as much talk anymore in families around the fireside, around the kitchen table, about their relations and the people that came before them. But it is a shame.
Micheál, you told a story to me before about forced immigration then that took place, say, in the late 1800s, the late 19th century. The Belgravia and the Fornesia came in, and the amount of people that were taken from South Kerry and Valentia, entire villages wiped out. And it'd be interesting to hear descendants of them, if they're tuning in, that they'd get in touch as well. But just briefly tell us about that.
Yeah, just what you call the free immigration, where families were offered £5 per head to go to America, but they had to leave their farm and their house behind them, and the whole family had to leave. Now, 2 ships came into the harbour, the Fornesia and the Belgravia, within 2 weeks of each other, and they took 1,200 people out of South Kerry. There was a family living next to us in Coole, and I think they had 9 in family, and the whole lot of them, the Keatings, they moved out overnight. Now, in the school in Chapeltown at the time, there were 253 pupils before the ship sailed. But Patsy Lynch of the lot said when the second ship sailed, there were only 46 left in the roll book. And Anthony Connell told me that he heard from his grandfather that the loneliest sound he ever heard was when they all went down to watch the ships sailing out the lighthouse, and they were coming back up Ball's Height, and they could see the half doors swinging in the breeze and the creaking of the half doors with all the houses empty. He said it was the loneliest sound he ever heard.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about that. I know that there was slate quarry workers though that went to America then as well, didn't they? They were fairly skilled and they made their mark over there as well.
What they did, yeah, they went to a place called Pawcatuck in Connecticut, and yeah, they were all skilled. They weren't working there in the slate mines, and yeah, of course, they had learned their trade here in Valentia, and there is a big population of Valentia people in that town.
And if there's anyone that knows anyone like that, it would be great to get in touch, because I think it's vital. Now we're ready for another piece of music, piece of local talent. Then we're just going to have a final panel discussion. Then we're going to open it up to the floor if there's any questions, and then we're going to invite MEP Sean Kelly up to officially launch the book. I mentioned the great talent that we have here on the island. They're a family synonymous with the island and with singing and great voices. Andrew's father was absolutely outstanding, and Andrew Quigley is following on that tradition. Give Andrew Quigley a big round of applause. He's going to sing Home from the Sea.
On a cold winter's night, with a storm at its height, a lifeboat answered the call. They pitched and they tossed till we thought they were lost as we watched from the harbour wall. Oh, the night was pitch black, there was no turning back, for someone was waiting out there. And each volunteer had to live with his fear as he joined in a silent prayer. And carry us home, home, home from the sea. Angels of mercy, answer our plea. And carry us home, home, home from the sea. Carry us safely home from the sea. As they battled their way past the mouth of the bay, was blowing like never before. While they gallantly fought, each one of them thought of loved ones back on the shore. And just before dawn, when all hope was gone, came a hush and a faraway sound. 'Twas the coxswain, he roared, all survivors on board, thank God, and we're homeward bound. And carry us home, home, home from the sea. Angels of mercy, answer our plea. And carry us home, home, home from the sea. Carry us safely home from the sea. And back in the town, in the street that runs down to the quay and the harbour wall, they had gathered in pairs at the foot of the stairs to wait for the radio call. And just before dawn, when all hope was gone, came a hush and a faraway sound. 'Twas the coxswain, he roared, all survivors on board, thank God, and we're homeward bound. And carry us home, home, home from the sea. Angels of mercy, answer our plea. And carry us home, home, home from the sea. Carry us safely home from the sea. Thank you.
What a voice, absolutely outstanding, no instruments behind him, and the way he can sing that song, it was an absolute credit to him and his family. Give Andrew a big round of applause again. So just to get to a few comments, I'm listening in Salford, UK. This is from Siobhan Beck. My mother came from Ballinskelligs. I see Michael Lyne. Ballinskelligs is there. Does it ring a bell? Does? One of the mains. Very good. We have it clarified there straight away. Noreen Dowling got in touch as well to say she's listening in. And Marion Hederman in Rhode Island as well is listening. And who's that? Marion Curran. Oh, very good. Don't bark at me now, Marianne, when we're trying to clarify relations. Also, we have Dennis Murphy tuning in, John Lott's son, and that brings us nicely on, Michal, to explain, is it Pop at the Lots? Is that the name of it, or what is it? Yeah, I thought it was Have a Pop at the Lots. I was trying to clarify that. So it's Pop at the Lots is the name.
That's what he was called, yeah, Pop at the Lots. We discussed that earlier. Yeah, somebody contacted me and said that her great-grandfather lived at the Lots, or Lower Feet Man, and she was wondering if there was any relations left. So that's the one that Nancy Murphy remembered. But he was married, his mother was Ellen O'Neill, And of course I tracked that down. And that Ellen O'Neill was one of the Neils of Lord Ballyherney, Patty Neil's people, you know. And a sister of that Ellen O'Neill married Patrick Shugrew, who was one of the Shugrews that went to Quirkes, was moved from Ballyherney to Quirkes. And so they would have relations insofar as the lady that did my proofreading, Katie Linan, her ancestors would be Sally O'Neill was her great-grandmother, I think.
There's a few lighter moments and funny moments in the book, which I think should be your next project, a collection of these short stories from the island, because there's some great stories, and you can leave out names, don't worry, or change names or whatever. But the spell on the rat, you mentioned that. What's that all about?
Yeah, no, Tygog he was a bit tormented. He was Marie Neil's granduncle, I suppose. Yeah. And he lived down in Craw, right next to the Candleman, and he wasn't married, and he was a bit tormented by a rat, so he decided he would put a spell on the rat, and he said, Téir go Cartmichael agus fan lawn, go to Cartmichael and stay for one day. Téir go Marnie Crohor agus fan Galawn, go to Mary Connor and stay 2 days. Téir go Courtney Hurrig, who was a relation of his, and related to the Shays of Donnybrook and Liam Lynch and all those. He said, Téir go Courtney Hurrig agus fan Treelawn. And then he said, Téir go Marnie Launa agus fan go Brown. Go to Marnie Launa and stay there forever.
You didn't like her, yeah. I heard Mrs. Shannon down there saying, I hate rats. I do too. The other funny story in the book is about a marriage between a Portmagee man and a Valentia woman. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, Timothy that reminded me of this a few days before he died.
Your brother Timothy, yeah?
Brother Timothy, yes. Willem Neil of Portmagee, who would be Willie Neil's father, he married Bridie McCarthy from Valentia. Now, we could go back and with the scenario, for him to get married, he got married in Chapeldown, 8 o'clock in the morning, 1931, and for him to do that, he would have to get some transport from Rincarrock down to Portmagee. He'd have to get a boat across. Then he would have to go from Carrigley over to Chapeldown, 2 miles or more, and in a horse and trap maybe. Be there for 8 o'clock in the morning, get married, come out, maybe take photographs, and go back then to Johnny McCarthy's there before you get to the bridge for the wedding breakfast. After the wedding breakfast, they would have some drinks and whatever, and the tradition at the time was that they would go around the island. This was the honeymoon. They go around the island in horse and trap, maybe 2 or 3 horses and maybe sidecars and that. So they did that, so it would be well into the day, you know. So they came around Quirkes, and they were just coming over the top of Imlock Road when Mike Plott stood on his back door down in Craw, and he looked back and he saw the cavalcade coming from Quirkes, and straight away he said, oh, that's Willem Neil, he got married in Chapeldown this morning. And just as he said that to himself, he heard the footsteps and the stairs behind him, and it was Rice, who Marianne mentioned earlier, in the creamery cans, and Rice was getting up, coming down the stairs in his bare feet after being out dancing all night. So his father said to him, it isn't now Willem Neil is getting up, he said. And there were we thinking, That is only the youth of today that are out all night and in bed all day. That happened in 1931.
This Rice sounds like a real character, was it?
He was mad for dancing, yes.
Very good. So before we finish our discussion, I'll just get a final word. Maybe Paddy, just yourself, a word on the book and the importance for it, for a man like yourself that's into genealogy.
Yeah. First off, I suppose congratulations, Michal, on a fantastic publication, and well done. I know you tormented me, but it even this morning, I was behind talking to Tig, and we were trying to piece the dots together. Because Tig and I are connected through the Cahills, which I knew because it was a story that Nono told me, that Tig's mother. Sorry, Joe, I keep forgetting my.
You're all right,
put my hand in front of my face.
I don't want anyone to lose this important
No,
stuff.
that Nono comes up with these beautiful stories periodically, right? And this was one of that Tig's mother, Catherine Mary, told Mick that they were connected to the Cahills, how we were connected to the Cahills. But she also told me a story about a first cousin of my mother's, a fellow called Vincent Neal from Portmagee. And he was playing with Portmagee. He was only a young fellow, 16 or 17. And he lined out for Portmagee, and Mick Cahill, be Tig's uncle, and a lot of you around the place would have known Mick Cahill. He stood up, he walked up alongside Vincent Neal, a small young fella, and he said, "Listen, lad, the fact that we're cousins stands for nothing today in the field." So, but that was another piece of the jigsaw. It just confirmed that what Tig's mother had said, and the fact that Mick Cahill was talking to this fella who would have been, I suppose they were second cousins, weren't they? Yeah. And we were able to, with that, that piece of information, we were able to put another piece of the box, the jigsaw together, Tig and myself this morning. And so what I was really saying is, Michal's book is a fantastic starting point for people trying to put bits and pieces together. Killian, I've never met Killian before, sitting down on the table tonight, but his late dad, I was due to go up to Kildare to see him before he got sick the last time, and he said he had a room full of notes and papers, and this was the excuse that he would need to start putting all these together, and we had arranged all this, and when I rang him he was after getting sick again. But it's great that you have the interest, Killian, and maybe you can start putting those bits and pieces together in some shape or form, or give them maybe with help from Michal or from Tig or somebody. I don't have the local knowledge, but the lads do have that knowledge. I don't, I'm out of the island too long. So this is a great tool to get people started. I know there are people out there, I know there's cousins of yours in Dublin watching this tonight.
The Lynes,
yeah. He's on 3 or 4 times already today asking me questions to tell me all this and tell me all that. I said, no, Tim, Michal has the book written now, we won't edit it now, it's just too late, But, so please, anybody out there that has any information, Michal is the linchpin, or Fiona, that they will take the information, they'll get it, and they'll get it to the relevant people. Okay, it may take a while to get it out there. Or if you're interested in it, go away and do a DNA test. Do a test with Ancestry or MyHeritage or one of these companies. That's what helped me to get started in it. I did a test. I got a test from my kids about 6 or 7 years ago. It's a birthday present. They were looking for the cheap version of the birthday present for Dad. And I did the test, thought no more about it, and I got an email from a guy in America. He said, "Hi, my name is John. I was adopted in 1962 in New York. I've no idea who my family are." Right? He now has met all his family, and other than John, there are other people have come into the family. So, it's amazing what you can do with a little bit of groundwork, I suppose, and a little bit of help. And if somebody contacts you, and I'm saying this to people out there, if somebody goes to the trouble of writing to you because you've done a DNA test and you're on the IPG site, please have the courtesy to come back and respond to them, because without your help, we can't put all the bits and pieces together.
Very good. Well said, Paddy. Give Paddy a big round of applause. Micheál, what's fascinating to me, and I see the Connors Cool are out in force, which is great to see as well, and they're mentioned in the book and the relations between all of us, which I think is brilliant. You were mentioning yourself and your brothers, you all stayed on the island. There's a deep connection with the families going back, centuries. It's amazing to see that, a lot of families stayed on the island.
After they did, I suppose there was always a bit of employment, but and mostly farming, I would say. I mean, my grandmother and Pat Connor's grandfather were brother and sister, but 3 of them got married in Cool West, where there was only 10 houses altogether. So that brings in the Shays. I see Eileen Shannon down there. Her grandmother was Hannah Connor. And then 3 more of that family got married elsewhere on the island. There was Timothy Connor at the fishery, William Connor at the revenue, and Patty Connor at the revenue as well. There is a story there in the book about Patty Connor's son. He joined the British Army and he was captured by the Japanese in the Second World War. And the Japanese prison now wasn't too comfortable, and he knew any letter he would write home would be read by the authorities. So he said, "This is a lovely place," he said. "Ach Barlam ve Egil Moor. I would prefer to be in Keelmore." That's the local cemetery. And sure enough, 6 weeks before the war ended, he died in a Japanese prison. If he had lasted another 6 weeks, the war would be over, and he'd probably,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about the stories in this book are just absolutely fascinating, and each person has their own story as well, which I think this is only the start of something. I think if you delve into it, you look at the families, look where they come from, it'll take you off on a different route altogether. That's why I say I got lost in it. So again, you should be commended on the publication. Now we have a mic, and Fiona, you might grab the roving mic. Yeah, have you more comments? Yeah.
Wondering, was the Rice a family nickname or actually his surname? Because I'd say she's trying to make connections in Washville. Rice, was that his last name, or was it a nickname?
Rice was just a nickname. His name was Michael Falvey from Cool West.
There you go.
The footballer Jack Rice.
Oh, right, okay.
Noreen Dowling is telling us that her mom's parents met in New York and both were born in Valentia. Mary Leary, daughter of John Leary Cool and Ellen Shafik Mann and John Casey, Ballyherney East, son to John Jack Casey and Mary O'Connor, Upper Tennis.
Noreen Dowling is a daughter of McMahons. Our parents were McMahons, and of course their parents then was Doggy Casey, who was Tom Casey's brother. And Doggy Casey married Mary Leary, who was Jeremiah Leary Fickman, his only sister. And that's where the relation is there. And Noreen Dowling is on Irish genealogy in Valentia down memory lane, and I've already sent her a book, and she's big into genealogy.
And then we say a big hello to Willie O'Sullivan and the family who are watching in Listoon, Varna, County Clare. And then we have Nancy Murphy, who's watching from the US, Connecticut. Her grandfather was Thomas Murphy, Black Tom from Ballinskelligs. And then Niall Lyne, who we know is in California, in Silicon Valley. And he says, Micheál knows all about our immigration history already. I think we can all echo Nono's comment that we should have listened more when we were younger. And Nancy Murphy is explaining that her grandmother is Bridget Shea from Carsavine. And that's it.
Excellent.
For the moment.
Yeah, so we'll invite questions now from the floor. So if you want to grab the mic again, just if anyone has a question, that we'll bring the mic to them. So just put up your hand and don't be shy. It'd be great to get your involvement. You were listening there long enough. I'm sure you have a few questions to ask the panel up here.
The rowdy crowd down the back. I don't mind travelling down with the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Whose birthday is it? Oh!
21st, Eileen, is it?
Would Eileen like to say a few words?
Oh, Jesus.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eileen. Happy birthday to you. Big boulabus there. Eileen, did you have anything to say? Yeah, just
She's very shy.
okay. Michael Lyne there, you were observing. If you want to, just in front of you there, Michael Lyne, Ballinskelligs, yeah.
Michael, tres limlet. Tá an leabhar sin go húntach. You know, agus fair play agat, dunne úntach to fair play agat. And your book is an inspiration, I think, to every community. I mean, I'm going to walk out here tonight and say, what can we do? So, I mean, an leabhar sin tá sé Harveh táchtach don glúnatá le tácht. So, gur míle magat. I'd just like to say, inside here tonight, there are a lot of Lynes and Lyne descendants. Now, some of you would probably know the following man, Tim Lynes from, or Patrick Lyne from, his ancestors came from Coravola in Drummond, and he lives in California. Now, next Friday night at 7 o'clock in the hall in Ballinskelligs, he's going to give a talk on the history of the Lyne clan. Now, it's not just Lynes from Ballinskelligs or Valentia, it's the whole Lyne clan going back over centuries. So if you're interested, or if you know somebody who may be interested, we'd love you to attend at 7 o'clock next Friday night in the hall in Ballinskelligs. So, Gurumida Mahagiv.
Gurmagat. That's vital what you're after saying there, Michal. I think that other areas should be doing something similar. I think, yeah, definitely. As even community projects or whatever, yeah, brilliant. Anyone else have a question? They all know where they came from, they're all right. They've all bought the book.
They'll be asking afterwards in the bar.
Paddy, did you want to?
I'd like to talk with Michal afterwards. I have never met him, but I'm familiar with his name and I'm familiar with some of his stories and stuff like that. But you were even mentioning conversation this morning with Tim Lyne in Dublin about Patrick coming today. So if you have a few minutes afterwards, please, I'd love to chat down with you. And just before we go, there's a lady in Connecticut, Debbie. Michal knows her. He's met her. She's been in Valentia numerous times. But when I did my DNA, the whole thing, right, I put it up on a public platform, and she saw my email address with a Valentia, and she wrote to me, and it transpires that she's a fourth to fifth cousin. We're unsure of the connection, right? But the volume of work that this lady has done, and if she's listening tonight, hello Debbie, hope you're feeling well. She got what you call it, bad COVID, or what you call it, the long COVID, but she's not as industrious at the moment as but she's getting better. So just a handout and a hello to Debbie, and thank you for all the work you've done over the last number of years on behalf of the IPG. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, Debbie has been a wonderful genealogist, and this morning I posted a book to her, and she has done tremendous work. She's a Cumbaugh, she's a Sullivan Cumbaugh, and there's a picture of her grandmother, I think, there in the book. Yeah, thanks Debbie, you're doing wonderful work.
Yeah, big round of applause for Debbie. I was reminded there, we did a documentary on the Knight of Kerry, and he could trace Sir Adrian Fitzgerald. He could trace his generations back 7 centuries, and we started the interview above in the Protestant graveyard above, and he was pointing out everyone who they were and where they came from and everything like that. And I think that's important for the people that are buried in Kylemore as well, and in our graveyards here, that we can actually trace them and know where they came from as well. It brings more meaning than just the headstone that, you'll stop a little while longer, maybe not at a family grave, but another grave, and you'll kind of connect them up. I think that's important as well. And I think we should remember all the loved ones that we've lost as well in this room as well, going back generations. They were mentioned, and I think it's important that if we just give them a bula bus as well, a clap. Tig, just before we finish up, I'll leave the last word to you there on this evening and the book and what it means to Valentia.
They can be you can't have a last word with Michael Lyne because it will go on, and I'm sure this is only a first version of what he has. If you see his office above in his house and the computer, and if you want to know where you are, give Michael Lyne a call. And if by some miracle he doesn't know, he will find out. Like the footballer from Laharton South who won an All-Ireland medal in 1897. Only for Michael, I couldn't trace exactly who he was. But thank you for that, Michael, and may you write many more books. I have a collection of the legendary series on t-Oileánach. If any of you have a copy, mind it. They are gold dust.
Yeah, brilliant, Ty. Thanks a million. And we have one last question, Fiona.
Sorry, Michael, I was just wondering, in your research, did you actually use a lot of, the census records online and that kind of thing? Because I know, with the Civil War and everything else, so many records got destroyed. Were you able to locate a lot of records like that, or is it just through people that you've got your information?
Well, no, the census records are valuable, very valuable. But in Valentia, only the 1901 census is available online. And the 1911 census is only for Tennis Upper and Tennis Lower West and Tennis East and some part of Knightstown here. The rest of the 1911 census, even though it is available for all the mainland and everywhere around Carsavine, everywhere like that, it's not available for Valentia. But it is invaluable because if you're tracing people back, the records go back in Irish genealogy to 1864, the civil records, and so after that you can get the births, the marriages, and the deaths. Now, when they give the marriages, they always mention the bride's father and the groom's father, and that helps you. That's the next cog on the wheel. You can move on from there, and then if you want to see how many was in the family, you can just jump up 20 more years, and you'll probably find them in the 1901 census. Now, some of them will be already gone to immigrate at that stage, but yes, it is a pity we don't have more census available online.
Yeah, thanks, Noreen. I'd say your father, John Lyne Ballyherney, would be in his element here tonight, wouldn't he have been? Yeah.
Himself and Noreen, my
Yeah.
aunt Noreen, she was fantastic as well. She had a brilliant history of the place and relations and everything else like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Both herself and Dad just have great conversations.
Yeah, brilliant, yeah, because we had John Lyne here for a panellist when we were talking about working at the cable station before. Yeah, he was excellent. Before we invite Sean Kelly up, we're going to get the man himself to perform a poem. So give me all a big bula bus here.
I'd forgotten that. Yeah, I wrote this. It was about growing up in Valentia back in the 60s and 70s. And I haven't done that now for many, many years. I'll see if I can remember it. Come listen now, McQuisleen, and hear what I've to say. While in praise I speak of that green isle enhancing Dingle Bay, from the towering cliffs of Brayhead that breast the briny waves, and the crags that been a Nuller, to Faughur's lonely caves. Coosagowana, Coosatorn, and many, many more, should they lie in placid grandeur on Darragha's lovely shore. Standing by old Column's cup and gazing towards Lough Kay, in paradise I stood a while, my breath it took away. And Begness Island slumber lies in that harbour quite serene, while Cromwell's fort the breakers broke at the gateway to Glenleam, where crimson flowers round Mary's bower and the dandelion in bloom, there dwelt the knights beneath the heights of the woody hills of Coombe. I rambled down to the knight's old town to watch the muddy raw. Good oarsmen too, God bless the crew, they rode without a flaw. All oars ahead the striker led, and each man followed suit. And bend the back, shover out, Pa Jack, and this is how to do it. Good on ye boys, the coxswain cries, and cheers came from afar, and she went clear going by the pier, God bless the island star. Way back down in Chapeltown I saw the red and gold, the island boys with their battle cries, a splendour to behold. No finer team there ne'er was seen, no matter where you go, they stood the test with Kerry's best, and vanquished every foe. Jack Murphy's cup they raised it up as many times as 9, and the Kerry Club and Intercups they brought across the brine. And further on I came upon a field of new mown hay. 2 horses wait at the farm gate as he drank his mug of tea. Ah, sure 'twas grand with reins in hand to strain the drafting chain, and guide his steeds through grassy fields or lead them by the mane. Ah, I love to walk and hear him talk and plough that furrow through, and watch his glance to get my chance and plough my furrow too. And we'd walk cool road to our abode and stop at Dorney's Cross to sing a song as the moon had shone and dew was on the grass. Mike Larry's house was like a mouse, and then the rattled door. He sprang to his feet and hobnails beat across the concrete floor. For the latch was tied from the outside, there was a mighty chase, but he loved each one and we had lots of fun when he returned to base. But time moves by, no reason why, and now we're old and grey. Some friends live on, but more are gone on their eternal way. Dan Burns went down by Cahertown, 'twas there he met his fate. No truer friend I'll ever send across the Golden Gate. And John Morley waits by Keelmoor gates, that smile still on his brow. But never fear, he had no peer at scythe or spade or plough. I'll end my song, I've kept you long, and when my day is down, I want to lay in Keelmoor clay and facing up to town. From there I'll mark on Keating's Park and sailboats in the bay, and watch our fold in red and gold do battle in the fray. While up above, like the soaring dove, I'll field that ball with glee, and I'll row Clamore for evermore with the man from Galilee. Shin Shin.
Gahuntuk, before I forget it, I just want to thank on sound tonight has done an absolutely fantastic job, your own Tommy Gilligan. Give Tommy a big round of applause. And also Brian Connor there, the man behind the camera, put it all together, vision mixing it and doing everything. Brian, who's your friend here? I can't see. Who? Oh, geez, another Lynchman. David Land there. Give Dave a big round of applause as well. So right at the finish, we're going to have a piece of music from Micheál's nieces. So just hang about for that, and there'll be book signings and everything else. But can I get a big warm welcome to say a few words and to officially launch the book, MEP Sean Kelly.
Údar Micheál agus a corda tá san dánarm bheith an seo Hranóna in Cumann Dairbhre ag lan seáil an leabhar is déanaí ó peann Michael Lyne on t-Oileánach, the Families of Valentia. And I have a great affinity with Valentia, and indeed fond memories of this hotel here, because I've met Micheál here on a number of occasions, and indeed in this very room a few years ago during COVID, my son Lawrence had his wedding reception, having got married in Quirkes when my brother is the parish priest, and we had a beautiful day, the weather was perfect, but one thing that might be of interest is that he married a girl who was born in Latvia, and there the custom is that the groom carries the bride across a little bridge when they get married. So there was no bridge in Quirkes, so the only bridge was the bridge in Valentia. What link is it? So he had to carry his bride the whole way across the bridge on that particular day. It's in scorching heat, and let's say it made a man of him. They're getting on grand. So it's a pleasure to be here with my great friend Micheál, whom I've known for many, many years, as indeed some of his colleagues whom I got to know when we were students in Brendan's. And we had a fascination about the students from Valentia, because they came from Valentia, the place where our great hero Mick O'Connell came from. And we just were wondering what was a Valentia person like. And we got close to them and became great friends. His brother also, Neil, was with us, and many more. John Falvey, William O'Sullivan, several more people. And they were there because they were pretty bright. They won scholarships. And there's a photograph in the book of Micheál and John Falvey and some other girls as well. I don't know where they went to college. Brendan's was a boarding school for boys only. But in 1963 they won scholarships, which is an indication, I suppose, of the level of teaching within Valentia, and also obviously people with a lot of brains, and you can see that there in Micheál tonight, the multi-talented in so many different ways. And actually I didn't know that he had written that beautiful poem he read out for us, but I just want to say, Micheál, I hope you don't walk that long corridor for a long, long time to come, because you have a lot more to do. But writing just seems to have come natural to him. As he said himself, he started when he was just early 20s with the Voices of Valentia, and he did 6 t-Oileánachs, and then of course he did the Kerry GAA book. And that's where I renewed contact with him again, because I was chairman of East Kerry Board and Oga, I'd say at the time, and he used to ask me every year to write an article. And of course he did get a McNamee Award, which is the highest award you can get in the GAA for publications for one of his yearbooks. Again, indication of the professionalism in which he does it. And he was telling us earlier on how all the difficulties he had at that time in doing books. He said he had 100 pages out in an apartment or a flat in Dublin on a Friday evening. They started at 5 o'clock and they didn't finish it until something like 10 o'clock on Monday morning. Had to go through to get it in time for the printers. He himself taught for a while, but the pull of his native shore was too strong, and he came back here and has been here ever since. 40 years he was manager of Valentia Industries. In 1998 he reopened the Valentia Estate quarry, which he mentioned earlier on. That was closed for 90 years, and it's now again supplying slate to the Palace of Westminster. And it reminds me that Juliet has booked
some slate for a number of years, which I haven't followed through on. So maybe we might do that for our own place at home in Killarney. He mentioned, of course, both in his poem and earlier on, his career as a footballer. He really was an excellent footballer. He got a raw deal. I remember telling me this a few times, once or twice, from Kerry, minors on the 21s and so forth. But he was that calibre of a footballer, inter-county standard. And he played, of course, for many, many years here in Valentia. I think he played from 1966 to 2001. And Valentia at that time, earlier on, was struggling, but he stayed with the club all the time. And it was interesting, actually, he was talking about the employment that was in the club going back over the years. At one stage, in 1933, there were 3 separate teams in the island. But come 30 years later, there was not even the club. It was declared an open area in 1966 because the Western Union closed and you had lost the club, but then it was revived, and as he said himself, revived with remarkable success, winning the County League Division 1, as he said, the County Club Championship, winning 9 South Kerry Championships, 7 South Kerry Leagues, County, Novice, Junior, Intermediate Championships, you name it, they won everything. And of course the Lions and others were central to that. And his dedication can be engaged from one little story. I remember just telling him once that I thumbed down from Dublin one weekend to play with Kilcummon, and I asked him, did you ever thumb down to Valentia, which is a lot farther than Killarney, because I started thumbing around 2 o'clock, and I remember I got into Killarney at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I walked home obviously to Kilcummon to play the game the following day. But this is a true story about the dedication of Michael Lyne. One Saturday, he decided he was going to thumb down to play for Valentia in a South Kerry league game of no great importance, no disrespect, but just a routine South Kerry league game. So that time you'd go out as far as Newlands Cross to thumb. So he went out to Newlands Cross. He was there at 10 o'clock on the Saturday morning. He was still there at 12 o'clock. No one picked him up. So he got the bus back in and he rang CIE when was the train from Houston station to Killarney. It wasn't leaving until 7:15 that evening. So he said he'd get it. So he got into Killarney and he started out thumbing out the road where I live, out around Fossa, 10 o'clock, and still at 12 o'clock no one picked him up. So he went back in, booked into a hostel in Killarney, got up the following morning, just shows his dedication and his strength of religion as well, went to 8 o'clock Mass in the cathedral, and then he thought that having gone to Mass, he'd surely get a lift, and out he went the road, and he went through Fossa at around 12 o'clock, nothing happening, walked all the way to Killoughlin. They were coming out of Mass there too, but the Lord wasn't looking down on him, nothing happening, and then he reached eventually Glenbeigh at 2 o'clock. And at this stage he said to himself, I'm going to miss the match. There were 2 games on. So he rang Tom Kane, late Tom, great character, and he asked Tom, were Valentia playing in the first match or the second match? And Tom said the second match. By God, he says, I might make it so. And straight away, as soon as he came out of the box, the phone box, the first car picked him up and brought him down along to Valentia, not to Valentia, but to Carsavine. And he just made the match barely in time. And you would expect, of course, his colleagues would be delighted to see him. And what did they say to him? They said, Jesus, Lyne, you left it late enough to come. And how did they get on? Portmagee, I think, hammered the daylight sort of thing. So I think it's indication of the initiative, the dedication, and the spirit and love for Valentia that Michael Lyne has. Nobody, I'd say, has a better or maybe a worse story than that to tell about their dedication to their club and ensuring that I could play for it. And I suppose he had the same dedication in terms of getting over some terrible tragedies he had himself in his life. His loved Una Keating, who married in 1977, died in 2014.
I think she was only 57 years of age, a lovely lady. And of course, he lost his sons, Joseph and Gerard. Another person would probably get depressed, and you can understand that, and maybe not continue on. But Micheál still worked hard, and with the support of Fiona, Deirdre, and Donnacha, his grandson, he got on with his life and has done them proud, I would say. I'd say everything he's done in some respects, because you can see there the love he has for Valentia and ancestors is obviously for his own family. So he has done a fantastic job. It really was a mammoth task. When I went through it first, I said, how in the name of God did he do that? The dedication, the time, the patience, and then trying to look up all these, because if we make a mistake, it's spotted. And my goodness, when you're tracing names back one after another, it must be very easy. But the other thing I couldn't believe tonight, any person that was mentioned, he knew who they were, their grandparents, their grandmother, their great-granduncle, where they lived, what they did and so forth, and of course their nicknames. He got that from the sim, I suppose. And as he mentioned himself, there's no need for me to go over it, that most people married within the island, outside the island, was matches and so forth. And he said himself he got the interest in genealogy essentially from his own house, sitting at the heart in the turf fire, because their house got electricity in 1959, and all the other houses up the valley weren't connected for a long time afterwards. So they all came to Michael Lyne's house, his parents' house, and they told stories, and that was, I suppose, how he developed his interest, and that's hugely important. And I think he also says something which Paddy mentioned as well tonight, that is important to be aware of our ancestors. And he has a sentence in the book about it, and he finishes off by saying, if we do not, our descendants will not thank us. And I think that's certainly something that descendants of Micheál Lyne certainly would be thanking him, and the descendants of many more families, because I doubt if there's any other parish in the country, maybe in the world, that has such a collection like this, with over 100 families, expanding out to 300, with the details going back to the famine times of all the people there. It really is a fantastic contribution to society, and I think, as Tig was saying, will spawn many more books, hopefully, in years to come. The other thing I really enjoyed about the book, he mentioned it himself, the photographs, over 300 photographs, some black and white, some colour, some modern, some ancient, but all of them very clear and very relevant. And few I found very interesting. The one there in the front, the men who built the radio station, purely historic, beautiful photograph. Then there's one of the blessing of the foundation stone for the church in 1939. Then one of the lifeboat crew. There's one of the great Mick O'Connell paying the wages at the Western Union Cable Station. And there you can see in it just how fit and eager Mick O'Connell was in his day. There's another one of Mary Bobbins O'Connell, one of the last thatched houses in Valentia, thing of the past now. There's one of the Sam Maguire Cup with Mary Parjean Murphy and Eileen Murphy O'Sullivan. Unfortunately, we won't have the Sam Maguire Cup this year to be looking at it, but we have the Ladies' Cup. And that was a good contribution from Ivor to that. So congratulations to the ladies who played wonderful football. Last week I was privileged to be there with Juliet on Sunday and also in Killarney on Monday night. So that's important we mention the ladies in that regard. He mentioned some tragedies. There's another photograph of a Patrick O'Leary, a private in the US Army from Valentia, who was killed in action in 1918. Then there's one of Ted Ring, son of Eugene, age 99, what's he about to do? Drink a pint of stout. Why not? And there's one with Tom Murphy and also Mary Bridget Neal. And if we look closely at Mary Bridget, she's in the photograph with 4 men, and down by her side, she's a fag. So that was a very interesting photograph. And then the other one, which really I was amazed at, the Knightstown National School, 1928, with the names of all the pupils. That's really historic and fantastic. And then there's one of the Coolbeg National School,
And then one other one that's very interesting, Mike O'Shea and his sister Kate, when she came back to visit after 60 years away. Isn't that a lovely photograph to have? So all those things are wonderful. So Micheál, you've done great, Goshka. I'm delighted to see from Facebook that you have been busy. You said yourself that a few days ago, I posted 30 copies to all parts of the world. The book traces the history of hundreds of families back to famine times and beyond, and it can be purchased on PayPal. There you are now, modern usage. So, and you can log into t-Oileánach. So all I can say is that for me, it's fantastic to be here at a time when you are tracing the history of Valentia, but also at a time when you're really looking forward to the future. Because I think the work that Micheál and his colleagues are doing in getting UNESCO status for the communications here, the transatlantic cable, and the work of the foundation, that's really going to be a game changer here in Valentia. And I can see this island growing and growing, going back to the time when you had huge employment, because you have plans for a cable museum, a visitor centre, a digital hub, and so forth. And also, side by side with that, you are not forgetting the climate and reducing emissions in the island with the hydrogen project and so forth. So this is a fabulous place, an oasis of wealth and respect, particularly for your ancestors. And I suppose it's all channeled through one great man, the great Michael Lyne. And I just treasure the book he gave me, because he just put on it, to Sean and Juliet, with best wishes, Michael Lyne, friends for 60 years. Now, I told him there was a slight little error there. He wouldn't want to be saying that my wife was friends of his for 60 years because she isn't 60 yet. So, Accorda, it gives me great pleasure, really great pleasure, because I've had the privilege of launching a number of books over the years, but never for somebody who's so close to me, who's such a great friend to me, and somebody I admire so much as Micheál Úsal Ó Lyne. Cogádicus Lyne.
Let's hear it one more time for Sean Kelly. Fantastic heartfelt words there. So just to finish, Micheál, if you can stand up and then we'll invite our musicians on just quickly. I suppose 2 questions. What have you to say after the night, firstly? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm delighted with the turnout and the support, and I hope you'll all enjoy the book. And I think there's something there for everybody. And if you're doing a family tree, which I hope every family should do a family tree, and I hope that this will be some help to you. So thanks there to Sean again for blowing me up out of all proportion. And sorry, Juliet, for about the 60 years.
And the final question, I suppose, is what's next?
Tom Creatna.
That's definitely not true. That's a break. Just before we finish up, I want to thank the Royal Hotel as well for the availability of this wonderful function room. So give them a big round of applause as well, to the staff as well. So we hope you all enjoyed the evening. I presume you'll be signing books, will you? Yeah. Yes, we'll do. We'll get the photographs, but leave your nieces play music first to leave the people see. So we will get photographs then with the panel and with Sean and the book and all that to make it properly official. And Micheál will be signing books, and they're still available. And to you at home, thanks a million for tuning in around the world. And you can get the book on -tloileánach.ie. My thanks to Taig Donoghue, who's getting ready for the photos there. Give Taig Donoghue a big round of applause for his contributions. Thanks to Paddy Murphy as well for his excellent contribution. Give a big round of applause. Nona O'Donoghue as well, who was absolutely brilliant tonight. Well done, Nona. I'll have to say this woman was brilliant as well, or I won't be able to come in for tea. My mother, Mary Ann Lyne McGill.
And also to Killian Lynch as well, who was absolutely fantastic as well, and I think did his dad proud tonight as well. So give Killian a big round of applause. And Micheál's daughters, Fiona and Deirdre, and for absolutely doing a fantastic job in organising tonight. Well done. Thanks a million. So without further ado, we're going to have some music now and song to play us out from Micheál's nieces, Chloe and Amy Lyne. Let's hear a big bullabus.
The fleet was leaving Dingle Shore. I watched the men row in their curragh as they marked the fishing grounds near Skelligmore. All through the night the men toiled till the daybreak, while at home their wives and sweethearts kneel and pray that God might guard them and protect them and bring them safely back to Dingle Bay. I see the green Isle of Valentia. I mind the days around Loch Lane, the gannet swinging with abandon as they watch the silver shoal that comes their way. I also see a ship on the horizon. She is sailing to a country far away. On board are exiles feeling lonely as they wave a fond farewell to Dingle Bay. Now years have passed since I came homeward, and time has left me old and grey. I sit and muse about my childhood and the happy times I spent near Dingle Bay. I see again the green Isle of Valentia and the Isle of Inishmore seems far away, and I'm always dreaming of my homeland and the happy days I spent near Dingle Bay, and the happy days I spent near Dingle Bay.
Thank you to Chloe and Amy, fantastic job and a great finish to the evening. But I just want to say we would not be able to do these kind of events without having a radio personality in the family. So can you all give a massive thank you to Joe McGill for doing a fantastic job again this evening. We really are spoilt. Thank you. So that's it for tonight. Thank you all for coming. There are books available down the back. He signed lots of them, but he's available to sign more and leave nice messages if you want them. But just a big thank you for turning out. It's been a lovely evening. Thank you for coming.